Kravitz is an author, screenwriter, composer, musician, and educator. His 2021 film, The Marksman, starring Liam Neeson, reached #1 at the box office. Danny is the author of six children's history and historical fiction books and loves to weave historical elements into uplifting stories with characters who succeed in ways they never imagined. His past books have been described by critics as inspiring, enlightening, and wonderful. In addition to his passion for writing, Danny was a Big Ten champion fencer and currently produces and records music. And on today's episode of Auto Interview, it's my utmost pleasure to have Danny on the show. How are you doing, Danny?
Doing really well. Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you on the show.
Yeah, it's nice to be here.
Yeah. So, Danny, tell us about your new release. And I want to say that congratulations on releasing The Marksman. How does this book come about? What inspired you to write The Marksman?
Thank you. The Marksman came about because I wrote the 2021 Liam Neeson film, The Marksman. And when I sold the screenplay, I told the studio that I was interested in writing it as a novel and that I wanted to keep the novelization rights because I always knew there was more to the story than we could pack into the movie. Like I was really interested in the immigration issues and the backstories of all the different characters. And so I always planned on writing it as a book. So then the movie came out and did quite well. And then it was fairly easy to get it published as a novel. And that's kind of how it started.
That's amazing. And I really love the design. I had to look it up on Google and I saw that this used to make a very great stuff. I saw on Amazon also that is releasing tomorrow, the 29th. I was like, this is a
Yes.
great approach. That's lovely to know.
Yeah, the thing about the novel is like we wanted to write a very serious piece of literature. Like the movie was a fun movie, but it was about serious issues.
Mm,
And it wasn't just Liam Neeson in Taken, just kicking everyone's butt. And it had some of that, but it had a lot of really profound, topics were being discussed. And
mm.
so we wanted to write a book that was different from most movie novelizations that just kind of try to capture the movie. We wanted to go a step back and really write the best piece of literature we could. And I think the reviews are the reviewers are seeing it the way we tried to write it, which
Wow.
is, important, and it works. The story seems to work and the writing's solid. So
Yeah, that's amazing to know. That's really amazing to know. And I also see that you have children's books that are centered on the
yes.
theme of American history and American Revolution history, like it's evident in some of your titles, like Tommy, McKnight, and the Great Election, the untold story of Erin Knorr, the man who saved Boston, and many others. I'm curious, how did you develop passion to write the theme of America history? Would I be right or wrong to say that it's your attempt to educate young kids about the history of America?
Yeah, and it was also a passion because I really really enjoy reading about and learning about American history, all history. But at the time that I was working on those books, I had just gone through a period of reading a lot of the biographies of the founding fathers
Mm.
and a lot of different David McCullough books about history, and I was fascinated by it. So when the publisher asked me what I'd like to write about, I said, well, I would love to write about this historical thing, and I'd love to write about that historical thing, like the American Revolution. And then with Tommy McKnight and the Great Election, that was really fun because the publisher actually came to me and said, we'd like to write a book about a boy who has polio when uh, Franklin Delano Roosevelt is also running for president and he has polio. And I said, I
Mm.
love it. I love it because we can incorporate like a really nice human story with some fun history too. I just love history.
Yeah, that's amazing to me. I too am a great lover of history, and I've heard about the American Revolution you talked about. I've read, I watched all the booktubers, and I saw some books that mention on that theme. So it's lovely when I saw that yours to expand on this particular theme. Now, you also have another book titled In the Shadow of Lady Liberty, Immigration Stories from Ellis Island. For readers who haven't read the book yet and without giving much information away, could we have a sneak of what we'd expect picking up In the Shadow of Lady Liberty?
Yeah. So I'm a bit of a uh, immigration is a topic that I keep returning to. It's very interesting. I
Wow.
didn't intend for that, but I'm the son of a first generation immigrant from Poland who escaped World War II, the Nazis in World War II.
Oh,
Immigration is something that's as all Americans, like we're all a generation or two away from an immigrant, and there's a constant issue of immigration going on. And in the Shadow of Lady Liberty, um, it just tells the stories of different people who, I tried to personalize it by telling researching legitimate, like real people and their stories and what it was like to arrive on a boat and look up and see the Statue of Liberty
wow.
and then land at Ellis Island and begin a new life, which is important for American history, but it's important every day in the world. People are immigrating and trying to start new lives in all kinds of places. So it was just a really cool way to tell those stories. I think I interviewed my mother for that one actually, because she went to Ellis Island.
Oh, that's lovely to know. That's great to know. I
Yeah,
love your thought on that. Now, as
yeah.
authors, we all have different way of reacting to feedbacks and criticism of our works. I'm curious to know your opinion about criticism. How do you react to negative reviews of your books if you've ever had one in time past?
I haven't really had many negative reviews, but with the books, people tend to really be lovely about reviewing my books. The movies, you always get negative reviews with movies. So like
Oh,
when we did the Marksman movie, we got great reviews and we got some pretty nasty reviews. And
oh,
the first time you ever experienced that, you have to go through a little bit of pain, but then you start to read them and you start to realize this isn't like a review of my work. This is really most often, unless your work is bad, it's often a review of the person who's writing the review. It's like a review of their life or their opinion or their political, their mood. It just doesn't. So it doesn't bother you because unless they say something that
that's
really
funny.
resonates as true, you just start to realize like, oh, they're just grumpy, because there's always something. If you're good at what you do and you really work hard at your craft,
Mm,
you're fine. You're fine. And if you do something bad and you get a bad review, maybe it will be honest and it'll help you. But the review thing for me is just kind of fun because it doesn't mean all that much. But when reviewers really connect with what you were trying to do, it's nice to know that you succeeded at what you were trying to do. And then when they don't, it's nice to know that they probably are in a bad mood and just don't know what the hell they're talking about. That's how it's been for me. So it's been fine. It's been kind of fun.
yeah, that's great. I love your thought and your reaction to this. That looks for an
Yeah.
amazing discussion. Now, it's also a known fact that every novel or story has a message to pass on, as an information to convey. What were you trying to achieve in writing Journey to America, a chronology of immigration in the 1990s? I'm curious.
So that was really more, like I can talk about my motivation and the theme and the message of like the movie The Marksman. With the Journey to America, that was really more about just capturing um for the reader, just trying to demonstrate the facts, like just the history of how people immigrated and from what countries and how long it took and why different countries had people leaving them. And
Mm,
the universal theme that tends to come out of it is that life gets hard for people and they try to go someplace where life can be potentially better. But that was a very straightforward book, like as opposed to The Marksman, which is so much about the message or the story of The Marksman is what are we going to choose to do when faced with a choice? Are we going to do the right thing that helps each other, or are we going to do the other thing that maybe doesn't help each other? And what's the price you have to pay to do the right thing?
Mm.
And that's really what The Marksman is about. And it's about a man helping a young illegal immigrant boy.
Wow.
But it's also about how we treat each other as human beings, and what human beings feel that you might not consider. Like when you see the face on the news of some illegal immigrant, you might not consider that they have a life and their whole backstory and history. And when you
Mm.
see, a cartel, it's really just about what is it like to be a human being, and are we going to help each other be humans or not? That's really what I was trying to say with that book.
Wow, that's lovely. I love your team and the information you try conveying in there. That's lovely. I really love the themes of your books, and checking them through on
Oh, thank you.
Amazon really makes for an interesting discussion. I love to pick one up eventually.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. The Marksman, like I said, the Marksman is coming out tomorrow. It's officially available.
How
And
so much I love that cover. It's beautiful.
yeah, isn't that beautiful? That's the
Very
key art from the
beautiful.
movie. That's Liam Neeson, my favorite actor, and that's the key art from the movie. That's like the movie poster. And yeah, it's really beautiful.
There
The
are
other
other
one is
ones you can show to the camera.
yeah, the other one is Con Crazy. This
I'm
is the other book
crazy.
that's coming out. And this is a little different. This is not based on any movies. This is about it's a more ambitious book. It's about love and tragic love and unrequited love and all these things. But the story is actually about a con artist who goes to France to con these French aristocrats, thinking that they're evil people, but then discovers that they're not. And there's a whole lot more to go to discover in France than he ever thought possible. And the whole experience changes him in ways he never thought possible. So it's kind of comedic, but it's very much about the heart and love. It's really cool. But it's a con artist story.
Yeah, and I see that that particular one is a co-authored book, right? How does it feel
Yes,
working with other writers writing it together?
I love it. I have
Oh,
writing partners on many of my projects. So with both
wow.
of those books, I had writing partners, and I just love it. You outline it together and you write it together and you pass it back and forth depending on which project it is. But as long as you're working with really talented people who are decent and
Yeah,
have the same goals, it's so
yes,
fun because
yes.
you get to call someone up and say, "Hey, did you read this wonderful part that I just made?" Or call someone up and say, "Hey, what you just did is so beautiful." It's fun to share it. It's like being in a
Yeah,
band.
it's beautiful. That's true. Now, I'm also curious, Danny, to know if you experience any challenges while writing your books. If there is any, could you share with us what challenge it is and how you ultimately overcame it?
Yeah, there's a lot of challenges. There's some personal challenges. Anytime you set out to write a book or a movie, you have to overcome a lot of fear.
Yeah,
Fear that it will be any good, fear that it will ever lead to any professional achievement. Um, there's subconscious fears just about showing yourself to the world and hoping that you will be received well. So
mm,
there's a lot of challenges. And then, as a writer, people don't realize like screenwriters make really good money. Authors don't necessarily make a lot of money. So you have to figure out how to keep working on your craft and continue to work and write while also finding, a balance in your life and finding ways to make a living and finding ways to have
yeah.
community and friendships and relationships and family. So, you have to balance your life and make space for this thing that you just love to do and want to ultimately do really well enough to, be successful at it.
Yeah, that's great. That's lovely to know. Now, Danny, apart from the books we've mentioned so far, do you have any other works you've authored or maybe currently working on?
In addition to the books that I've written already.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're going to do a sequel to Con Crazy. We're going to do a sequel to The Marksman, most likely,
Wow.
as a book and a movie. And then aside from those, I have a couple movies that are in the process of, about to be made. But the writer's strike in Hollywood is slowing things down a little bit with the movies.
Oh,
So, um, but I have a few really really fun screenplays. Like one's an action thriller, one is a comedy thriller. I'm sorry, yeah, action comedy, and one is like a aliens predator type of movie that's just really really fun. So there's a little bit
Wow.
of everything, but they all have a lot of heart. Like me as a writer, I have to tell stories that entertain me and move me emotionally. So my stories always tend to be character centric, or focused on the character's growth more than anything.
Mm. That's great. I love your answers to these questions. They really made for an interesting discussion.
Oh, good.
Now, I also love to ask you, is there anything that you love the viewers to know about your books or writing that we did not mention in this interview and you'd love the viewers to know?
Um, if I mean, yeah, the one thing I would love the viewers to know is that the books are really good. You know, like I worked really hard on both of these books, and they're being received very well. And I'm a new author, so my name is not big in the novel world.
Oh,
Um, but that's okay. These are newer. I've written some children's books, but as a writing adult books for adults, I would just want people to know to like check them out, like check out these books, and I think you'll be pleasantly surprised at how good they make you feel and how much they move you emotionally. Because though the stories are solid stories in terms of the plot, really as an author, what I'm most interested in is the human story and the moving my audience emotionally. And I think with both of these books, I was able to get close to my mark in doing that.
yeah, that's amazing to know. I love that. Now, I also love to ask you, Danny, as a published author, what sort of advice do you have for other writers who are still struggling with publishing a book? What do you advise people in this category?
My advice to people is make sure the other areas of your life are solid and balanced, you know, and once they are, it'll make it a little easier to navigate the chaos trying to succeed as an artist. That's the
Mm,
first part. Make sure you
wow.
have community and friendships and relationships and family, and that you're solid and in your life as much as you can be. But then the other advice is to never believe that you aren't good enough to be a published author. Like you are,
Mm,
unless there's something really wrong with you. Anyone can develop the craft. We all can speak the language, so we can all write the language.
mm,
So it's just believe in yourself. Understand that it's a craft and you have to get good at it. But there's nothing special about us authors who've been published. We just have been at it a little bit longer. So I would say to anyone, like, it's possible, do it and enjoy it, but make sure your life is balanced too, because it's not going to bring all the happiness in the world, but it's fun when you have some success.
yeah, that's great. I love your advice to this, question, and I'm hopeful that viewers, including myself, would love to utilize it. Now, Danny, in case we have some interested viewers who would love to get a copy of some of your books, on what platform are they available on for purchase?
Yeah, so both of these books, I think the best platform is Amazon.
Oh,
Amazon.com, the Amazon bookstore. Both you can look up under my name for the different books, Danny Kravitz, or you can look up under the titles, either The Marksman or Con Crazy. And they're on Kindle, they're on paperback, they're on audiobook, they're everywhere. But they're in stores too, but it's easier to get them online, I think.
that's great. And I left a link in the description part of this interview where interested viewers can get a copy of Danny Kravitz books directly on
Oh,
Amazon.
beautiful.
So
Thank
thank you
you.
so much, Danny,
Oh,
for
thank
accepting
you.
the invitation to be featured on P English Literature. It's awesome having this conversation with you.
It was a real pleasure. It was so nice to meet you. I hope to do it again.
Yeah, my pleasure as well.